live. During today's community chat, we will be discussing entrepreneurship and the African hustle. Before we get to the conversation, I would like for participants to introduce themselves. Just kind of give a little bit of information about yourself, your name, where you're originally from, where you're currently located, and why you're interested in joining today's conversation, starting with Faith.
Okay. Hi, my name is Faith. I reside in the Washington, D.C. area. I'm a senior at the George Washington University and majoring in international affairs, and I am Ghanaian American. Did I answer all your questions?
And why are you interested in joining us today?
Oh, I'm interested because I've kind of had some experience with the whole like African slash Black owned business realm. I've done some work on it in my internship, and also my mom is a business owner. So.
Okay. Thank you very much, Marilyn.
Hi everyone, my name is Marilyn Nanga. I'm Cameroonian. I'm a graduate student finally of international business, and I'm going to perform in information system or information technology. I don't know yet, but anything related to the tech field. Why am I interested by the topic? First of all, because I missed you guys, and also because, well, it's very interesting as we are all in America trying to do something out of our skills, our experience, and because I'm a businesswoman, so I know something about it.
All right, thank you. And Olu?
Hi, I'm Olu. I'm currently in Philadelphia, originally from Georgia. I'm Nigerian American. Why I joined today, mainly because I'm always interested in entrepreneur pursuits. I've run I run a business before myself, so I have a little bit of knowledge on the subject. So I wanted to just see what everybody had to add to today's discussion.
All right, thank you. And then Dina?
Hi, I'm Dina. I am originally from the Democratic Republic of Congo. I currently live in Iowa, and really joining this chat because as part of a member of Ezibota, we are a Black-owned, African-owned business, and also because I'm one who's always wanted to support and looking to support Black-owned businesses because I really do believe in giving back monetarily back to our communities because that's the only way we can really grow financially. Oh, Bila might be froze.
I think she is.
Okay, Bila's froze. She'll be back. Okay, so the first thing we really want to start talking about here is in terms of buying African, buying Black, just like I mentioned. Like I said, we believe in the power of voting with our money. That's something that I think we hear in economics, we hear in politics. And so, it's about demonstrating that by buying African, buying Black, we support the progress in our communities and on the continent. So there's a lot of information about Black buying power in the U.S., and it's estimated at about $3 trillion. And so the question really is, why don't we see that money circulating through the Black community? So maybe we'll start with Faith.
Okay. Well, it's funny that this topic is a topic because my freshman year, there was this woman, I don't know if you guys have heard of this book, it's called Our Black Year, and it's about this family that tries to buy Black for the whole year, buy only from Black-owned businesses and buy, basically Black-owned businesses. And it was just super hard for them to find Black-owned businesses, number one. And number two, some of the products weren't at the same level as some of the other, I guess, non-Black owned businesses. And so I think that's one of the reasons why is that maybe some of the Black owned businesses are lesser known, and we get fed so much from the media of these big, giant corporations, and that's what we buy. And, they kind of, I guess, fulfill our taste and fulfill our preferences. Want to support them.
What was you said it's a book?
Yeah, it's a book called Our Black Year, and it's by Maggie Anderson. So it's a pretty interesting book. She came and like gave a talk at my school.
Okay. We'll make sure to share that with everybody, and I'll make sure to check that out.
Okay.
What do you think, Olu? Why do you think, in terms of, I mean, there's a lot of studies I've read about like how money circulates in the Jewish community, then it circulates through the, we'll say, white American community, and then Asian communities, and then the black communities. And it seems that money doesn't circulate through the black community. It just is always going out. Why do you think, what do you think contributes to that?
I think it's a lot of things. For America, it's somewhat systematic. So you have to also think back of, you know, the history of Black Americans in this country. You also have to think of like when Black Wall Street was in Oklahoma, how those things were destroyed by white Americans. And then we also have this idea of, you know, of blacks aren't producers. We're only consumers. So even when you get a black business, black people complain just because it's like, oh, I could get this cheaper somewhere else. And I understand it, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's also a mentality of like, even when you start a business, your friends are always like, oh, let me get the hookup, and it's like we have to break that mentality, because you don't go into a store and then you don't say, oh, let me get a discount. You don't go to Walmart and get to the register and say, let me get a discount. You just respect the price. And it's one of those things where it's like, I understand it. Most people start businesses in college, and college students don't have a lot of money. But we don't even try to say like, okay, I can't buy it, but let me at least get 2 other or 3 other people to buy it. Let me like promote my friend's business, because at the end of the day, I know I support him, and I can help him to, you know, get to a point where he can just give friends and family free stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a building factor that we miss, and if you look at how our communities are set up, you know, well, I live in Philadelphia. There are a lot of corner stores here, and most of the corner stores are owned by Spanish people. So when I first moved here, you know, black people calling the Spanish guy Papi. For me, like, I had a real issue with that, because like, you're not my father, and and I would never call you father, like you're sir. So it's like, I don't know if it's a mentality thing, or, you know, you get just acclimated to it and you accept it. But it's one of those things where you have to think, like, if I go down the corner, is there like a place where I can get fruits? Is there a place where I can get groceries? These are just things like, as a human being and me, you know, growing as a healthy person, I need. But if I have to go outward to get those things, then I'm going to continue to do that.
Interesting. All right. What about you, Marilyn? What are you thinking in terms of why we don't see that support always? Is it because people are always looking for discounts, like Olu said, or is it more visibility, like Faith said?
I think we have to like break the topic into 2 pieces. First of all, when we say in black community, is it like all the black community, or is it like the African community?
Well, I think that's always the thing with the U.S. is we know we're all black. So whether you're African or you're from the Caribbean or whatever, we're all technically black. So when I mentioned like the black buying power, when I looked into that, they include Africans in that study. Like, they don't exclude African businesses from that black buying power. And so, I mean, for me, for myself, I don't know about anybody else, and anyone can chime in, but when I say black buying power in the U.S., I'm talking about anyone that's identifying as black, though we know that's a weird area these days.
Ravens known.
These are 2 different economic systems, because black Americans, they have the economic study, the economic way of spending money. It depends on whatever they want to do. Most of them, they have little shops like barber shop, like little grocery shops, or hair salon. And African community, most of the time, they use the money to send back home and to pay the studies of the kids, who sometimes are not American, so they can have access to scholarships and everything. And school in America costs a lot of money. So this can explain it, that in America, most of Africans when they come into the country and they invest, it's for the family first because they know the struggle. And we have another problem, us Africans. I'm talking to my people because African Americans, I know some people, but I don't know much about the way they think, the mindset. But us African people, we are not like encouraging each other. For example, now we are all going digital. My fiance tried to build a company where he will build a like how do you how do you say that? It's like a website where you can find all the African restaurants in the United States.
Hmm.
Like you go to Washington, you just have Washington DC, we show all the restaurants. So what did they fail? Because African restaurant owners, they did not follow. They did not find the use of doing that. As long as it was for free, okay. They enjoy the free membership for like 3 months. And when it comes to pay, they're like, I don't really feel the need. How do you want me to encourage you and to bring you new customers if you don't see the needs on what I'm doing for you? So we have that, like, it's not a selfish mentality. It's not like we are not encouraging each other. We are not completing each other. And we also have a background in Africa. We have brothers coming on our own expenses. We have kids. We have family back home. We have our own investments back home. So when you think about all that, it's difficult to share finances around the community. When it comes to Jewish people, for example, what they do is that, first of all, they're all in finance. Most of them, they are in finance, and they take the brothers everywhere. Like, if you have a lawyer that is Jewish, you're lucky because he will just open all the doors for you. But us in Africa, we don't have it. We don't have it because we still have that mindset of I can be better than you and I will prove it to you. Not like I know you can complete me on this field and I will be with you, you know. So this is it's a problem of mindset and it's a problem of economy also because the money they have most of the time is for saving tickets and on another side it's for sending back in Africa because the African diaspora invest a lot in Africa. And on another side, we have the problem of mindset.
So, Marilyn, something that you kept alluding to, whether you're talking about Black people in America or whether you're talking about Africans in a general sense, is kind of what a lot of people refer to as the crabs in a barrel mindset, in which we as a community or whatever communities we break ourselves into, oftentimes we're not able to thrive because we're oftentimes looking to see how we can pull somebody else down so that we can kind of advance ourselves beyond them, as opposed to looking at our neighbor and say, congratulations, let me support you, while I also, want to congratulate myself and support myself. So I just want to ask, like, Olu and Faith, do you think this is a mentality that is widespread amongst various like Black communities across the globe? And if so, is it something that you think is detrimental to what Dina was talking about by allowing our money to circulate within our communities and kind of allowing us to thrive and not letting these Spanish people or these Asian people come into our communities and sell us these products that we use on a daily basis? So that's one question. I know it's kind of long, but chop it up if you want to. And the second one is, do you think that there's even truth to this idea that we oftentimes are crabs in a barrel? Do you think that we do kind of stunt each other's growth because we either don't trust each other or because we're just hating or because we see each other as competition because there are so few successful minority businesses that do really, really well and break the threshold? So I guess, Faith, if you have a response to that, that'd be great.
I would say, yeah, unfortunately, and it like saddens me to say that there is that mentality, and that just like you said, the crab and the crabs in the barrel mentality that I think unconsciously we may, just I guess support our family, but not support like our extended family or like even somebody that's from the same, country or the same nationality as us. And I don't know, where that stems from. I don't know why that is, but in my own personal experience and in my, family's personal experience, like that's definitely the case. there's a lot of jealousy, there's a lot of competition. Yeah, and I don't know for what reason, but I definitely believe it's there.
Olu, is this something that you've experienced being a small business owner yourself?
In terms of crabs in a barrel, or like people
Yeah, and kind of
hating?
like not receiving, yeah, kind of like not receiving support from people that you feel like you should.
For me, not so much. It's one of two things. I think it's for a lot of people, like when you speak of support, like your parents come here because they're more so trying to give you a better opportunity, and for a lot of Africans, that opportunity is like cemented in education, where that is the only way they see it. Is like, okay, if you ever want to have options, you just need to go get another degree. Like my mom's still talking to me about going to get a degree, which I mean, paper, it looks good on paper, but I think it's also a situation of like, how many people do they know that started businesses? And then we look at like the structures of African culture. It's always one or two that go into music or go into something artistic, and it's usually just because like their parents were well off. Um, so I think it's half of it is like complacency, and half of it is like not having enough people around you that have done it before, because Africans can sometimes be don't believe it until you see it, and only believe in it when you've shown some results. So for me, I mean, my parents didn't support me in the beginning, but now they support me just because like I've been so adamant about like this is what I'm going to do. So I mean, as of late, they'll send me links of stuff about social media, send me links about uh, I guess clothing and fashion and stuff like that. But for your friends, like I mean, support is support. Like, do they call? Do they uplift you? Do they shout out your stuff? I'm kind of like half and half with that, because in essence, like sometimes you have to accept that your friends not might be as cool as you to other people as they're cool to you. So like giving them a shirt and having them wear it, or giving them a product and having them promote it might not do you as well as you wanted to. But it's one of those things where you have to look at your circle and define, all right, do these people understand like the only way for us to build as a group is making sure that people pay for what you're producing. So for me, I think, as I stated, it is half of it is complacency, and then half of it is just our maybe our lack of knowledge, or sharing that knowledge with our circles around us.
Okay, thank you. So something that was interesting that you said before I left was that kind of you were just talking about like security, and it was like, well, how many people before us have done it, right?
Right.
And something that I'm saying, I might be uneducated because I honestly, like you guys are kind of like the experts. I don't really know much, but when I go back home, when I hear my cousins talk, when I talk to my uncles, aunts, a lot of Africans are entrepreneurs. Like a lot of us have like little hustles or side gigs that we do. So to me, it's kind of like it's the difference that these are things that we see as kind of like get rich quick things that we're just like, oh, let's just do this until it blows up, and if it doesn't, let's move on to something else quick, and that we don't really go through the whole entrepreneurial process that in America is kind of what frightens a lot of people, or what? Because when you said that, I was just kind of thinking of like all the family members that I know that have their own businesses. So Faith, I kind of see you having a bit of a facial expression response to that. So do you have anything to say in response to that?
I just agree. Like, I'm just thinking about all the, if you go to any African country, you'll see people on the street, selling things, carrying, big loads of bananas, juice in their hands, whatever. Like, that's entrepreneurship right there, and I think it's just something that's, in our psyche. Like, you want to make money, you want to, and a lot of people do it, even though it's not like, I guess, your typical definition of a business. That is their business. That is their livelihood. And so I think that, when you said a lot of get-rich-quick schemes and not going through the whole entrepreneurial process, I think there is a difference in that, and that may be a roadblock to why, Africans in America aren't as ambitious as they would have been if, back home, because it's not as easy. You can't really be selling stuff on the road here. You have to
It's illegal. You're gonna go to jail.
you kind of have to go through the process, and it's intimidating.
So, so do you think that is the disconnect? Like, do you think that we just don't have the patience to kind of go through that process, or what is it? Because we still have the desire, still have the drive, the hustle. We just, when we come here or wherever else we might go, I don't want to make this U.S. centric, but like, it just seems like the number of people that are willing to go through that process decreases significantly.
I would say, yeah. I think that is the disconnect. Just thinking, like, for instance, like my mom, she has an assisted living home that she opened about like 8 years ago, and it took her about like 2 years to just get it off of the ground. And she had a business partner that was also African, and the business partner just kind of got fed up with the system and kind of like dropped off, and left my mom alone basically with this big business plan. And so eventually, like, now the business is doing well, but you won't see I don't see Africans like referring her or like promoting her business. And I don't know why that is, but it's definitely here. I would say it's definitely more a process than back home.
I think one thing that Tolu said that stuck out to me was when Tolu, not Tolu, Olu. Well, like, we don't have a Tolu here. You mentioned that now that your parents kind of understand what you're doing, they send you things that support you, not necessarily always like with money or whatever, but it's about the exposure of the people around you and what they also know. And I was listening to a podcast earlier this week, and it was talking about that, where if you don't know any entrepreneurs or anyone that claims that they're an entrepreneur in your circle, it's kind of hard to also understand how to support them. My parents, like, you have to really be vocal about what you're doing and what you're seeking, and not just expect them to also support you, because sometimes people just don't know how they're supposed to support you. Entrepreneurship is a huge word. And just like you mentioned, people can be carrying bananas, people can be shining shoes. They're entrepreneurs, right? But it's such a big word that I think people also don't always understand why people are calling themselves entrepreneurs and what that really means and what you need. And so I had to, with my parents, like, I sit them down when we talk about Ezibota all the time and say, like, this is what we're doing and this is what we're trying to do. And I know that, I've asked family members for money if that's the time for it, but I also just ask for, like, simple prayer and support. Like, if you see something or you meet somebody that you think could help us, then let me know. So I think that stuck out to me, where if you are vocal about what you're doing, at least in your small circle, you're not always going to get support from everybody, but your circle will support you if they love you, right? Especially if it's your family, they're going to support you, but sometimes they just don't know how to support you.
Did anybody have a response to that? Does anyone think otherwise?
No, I think it's okay. But I also think there's a matter of visibility, because all the African entrepreneurs who achieve great things, most of the time as students we don't know them. I'm sure, like, the college I went in, and there are some Africans who did great things. But I struggled, just like I passed 9 months in a new city. I did not even knew there was one African. So I think there's a real matter of visibility, and also that I have the feeling that the more African achieve goals and do great things, the more they prefer going in a partnership with Western people, because they think like, oh no, the Western people, they can open more doors for me than Africans, you know. And I can't judge it. I can't say it's bad, because I don't know if I would do the same tomorrow. It depends on everyone opportunities, but I think those people who already did great things maybe more like come to us more and show us the way, because America is so diverse and people can succeed and fail. It's like they are equally likely to succeed or to fail. So we really need mentors.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly though, sometimes you have to do your own work and search for those things because I think there's a lot of people doing some really good things, and visibility is the thing, right? There's a lot of us doing. I'm always surprised at every new blog that I find, any new like website that I find that's like, oh, look at them. They're looking to support people in their communities. And I don't know how we get all of those in one realm, you know what I mean, where we can all be visible to it. But there are people in our communities from our different countries in Africa who are pulling together and doing great things. I think it's also a mind shift. I think someone mentioned mind shift earlier. We have to change our minds and also see what it is that we want to see, because we're not going to always physically see it, but we have to start looking for it and seeing it for ourselves, or being the thing that we need to be, because naturally the whole world is not going to support you. Like, you're not always going to find those people. Like, if that's, I feel like that's a false negative in your own mind to believe that just because just because we're all from the same continent, or we're all from the same country, or we're all from the same city, that we're going to support each other. That's false. So yeah, I just feel like they're there. It's just the visibility, and also us being aware that we have to also see and search out for those things, because there's people out there doing some great things.
Yeah, so actually, just to kind of respond to what Dina was saying, and to kind of talk a little bit about the online marketplace that we recently launched. I think the big part of it is, and I'm not accusing anybody of this mentality, but this is what I oftentimes see. I think Olu follows me on Twitter, so you see some of the stuff that I tweet about it. But there's like a sense of entitlement that a lot of young people have, and a lot of people have in general. So they're like, so people think, I have a business. Why are people supporting me? As opposed to, I have a business. How can I get people's attention or support or their service? Like, without feeling like, oh, whoa, we're both Nigerian. Like, support me. Doesn't make sense. Like, I wouldn't see someone like, oh, we both have a red shirt on, support me. I don't know you. And I think it kind of also ties to the fact that people think that, like, oh, I'm Nigerian, they're Nigerian, like we're the same person. Like, no, they don't have the same interests. They don't have the same aspirations. Like, there's loads of people in Nigeria that I don't know. I would not give them anything because I don't know them, other than you're both allegedly Nigerian. So with that being said, I kind of one of the topic points that we had on our itinerary is like what vendor that we have on the Ezi Exchange, if you were able to check it out, which one were you most attracted to? What about them stood out to you? And kind of like, how can we apply that to going out and obtaining people's interest, as opposed to thinking that we deserve it because we're both from the same continent, country, city, whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and ask Olu that question.
Okay. I actually skimmed through it, so could you remind me?
Yeah, so we have, I'll just briefly go over some of our vendors. We have Christina, who makes home baked goods. The name of her company is A Box of Love. We have Naomi, who does fashion, men and women's design, a lot of accessories. The name of her company is Afraba. We have Kai, who does a great line of t-shirt lines that have really messages, I think, about, I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say it because I can't think of another way to say it, but like Africanness as a whole. The name of his company is Freedom 54. We have Fancy Muffin, who combines tie-dye with, I guess, like Western type clothing. You can check it out. The name of the company, I think I already said it, but I'll say it again, Fancy Muffin. And then I'm forgetting someone. Dean, am I forgetting somebody?
No.
No. Okay. Well,
Okay.
so, yeah.
I was actually familiar with Freedom 54. One of the artists out here that I've worked with, she wore one of their shirts. I think there was a young lady who had like shorts, and she put African print on the shorts. I enjoyed that. I mean, my thing is fashion, just because I've had a t-shirt line before, and I'm actually working on another one now. So, I mean, I think the main thing is like you have to do your research. It's one of those things where we always say, like, where are these businesses? Where are the black-owned businesses? It from just walking out your door, it doesn't look like they're there, but unfortunately, like, there are resources out there that you have to kind of dig for, and it's one of those things where, if you do the digging and decide to support, um, it changes a lot. I think there's a stat out there, like, if we spend like $100 if you spend $100, I think every month or every 2 weeks, at a small chain, it can, like, raise trillions of dollars and change the whole economy of America. So for me, I mean, I'm really excited by this, just because I see a lot of young entrepreneurs, um, uh, African entrepreneurs, starting things in America, and even abroad. So I'm really excited for the future, and I hope, I mean, as a whole, we can continue to support them.
Thank you, Olu. Really briefly, I don't know if he's with this. Logo, are you with us? Because I see like a black head, but like a shadow.
We can't. You need light.
Logo?
Okay.
I just wanted to give him a chance, but I don't know. I'm a little scared. So, Faith, did anything that stood out of any of our vendors to you?
Definitely the fashion. I think fashion is probably one of the biggest realms that African or Black entrepreneurs are in right now, especially with the burst of, the popularity of Ankara and African wear. I know that's like the first thing that I looked at. The prices, on the other hand, for a college student, are a little steep. So that's probably what stopped me from, buying. But I did like a lot of the stuff on there. But there are a lot, especially in like the DC area, there are a lot of fashion designers and, a lot of Africa related, I guess, wear. So yeah. And there are a lot of, like, I follow a couple of I guess, accounts on Instagram that showcase just African designer, like Zuva. I don't know if you guys have heard of Zuva.
Yeah. Yep.
And a lot of different things. So they're definitely out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think to do some research. Because actually, I found a girl on Instagram. Her name is Sarah Gole.
Ma'am, I think we have an echo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you have headphones?
What about now?
Oh, now she's frozen.
Oh, that's sad.
Mm-hmm.
Faith, do you have headphones?
I do. Am I echoing as well? Okay. Let me go get my headphones then.
All right. All right. So really quickly, I think that Marilyn alluded to mentorship, and so did Faith. So a question that we were just wondering, like, kind of like when Dina said that entrepreneurship is a big word, so is mentorship. You can't really, like, ask for mentorship if you don't know exactly what you need mentorship in, or how exactly would benefit you. So just based upon your experience, like, I know you also know a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of go-getters. What areas of development do you think the entrepreneurs need support in? Like, if you had to pick the number one topic, what would that be for you? Like, what do you wish that you would have had when you first started out?
I wish somebody had to set me down and, like, challenge me to define what it is that I want. I think a lot of young entrepreneurs don't define what they want, and they don't define what their end goal is. So through my experience, it was like, all right, it was like 2007. I was like, man, I want a shirt that, and represents me and my culture. There was nothing in the market, so I was like, let me just make these T-shirts and see what happens. But I didn't have an end goal. I didn't even really know what I wanted. I was more so just like, just just see what happens. And not having any direction, like it kind of got to a point where I was just doing stuff that didn't make any sense, and I was just being influenced by what the market was doing. So if everybody's doing big quote T-shirts, put out a shirt that has a big quote. If everybody's doing big logo flips, which is taking like McDonald's and flipping things around, just make that. And in essence, your brand message gets lost. So anybody starting a business, I think their main thing is like they don't sit down and thoroughly define themselves, thoroughly define like what sets them apart, and define where they want to be. So if you look at, if you look at like a lot of young brands, like they come out with a lot of stuff, and it's like you're kind of like just hyped just because it's like it's somebody or is really exciting. But for brands that have lasted, they have a story to tell, and they're able to kind of convey that all of their brand messaging. For me, it's been a lot of up and downs. I've learned a lot from failure. But if somebody had sat me down and just challenged me to say like, all right, I need 1, 2, and 3 before you even start anything, I probably would have been in a different place. But I'm thankful for like the failures, just because now I know in like this round 2, like I know what to do and what not to do. And I think it's another thing is like we have this fear of like working with others, because we're always like, man, I don't have the money to do this. But in essence, like in college, a lot of people are just trying to create portfolios. I think we don't fully understand the power in collaborating, because you might have an avenue where like, all right, I need a photographer. If you can sit down and come to the table like, look, as a photographer, I can't pay you monetarily, but I can pay you in another way, then you have an opportunity to now get a photo shoot. I think we always think of things as like the only exchange is monetary. But everybody has resources. You never know if somebody might need a space, or just need to get into a studio, or maybe needs something random that you have access to. If you come to the table with those options, you never know what doors can open for you.
Yeah, that's a good one. The exchange of services, because if you can do branding and I can do websites, that's bartering. Money is very new. If anyone remembers learning about the history of money in current, like real currency, it's new. So it's not like something that's been, always been there. People were trading cows and trading, services. Those things, like to me, are valuable. Currency just has its value because we've made it that way, but there's not always value in the money.
Marilyn, just so you know, right now we're discussing mentorship and what the number one thing that you think that young entrepreneurs need. So just in response to what Olu was saying, I think you're 100% right. Like, it's really interesting, and like I feel like I'm still learning this process, but a lot of people lack clarity. A lot of people lack succinctness. Like, they kind of rely on the heartfelt message of what they're trying to do. But I think the thing that we've all kind of discussed, or the thing that we've all kind of alluded to, is everyone is not going to get your heartfelt inspiration at all. But if you can clearly state the problem, how you want to solve the problem, and then how you're going to generate revenue, that's a lot simpler of a language than, oh, I really care about this, because then people are like, well, why should I care? Like, you care about it, but why? How does that affect me? So I think that starting out, if I had I did have a mentor, but if I knew what specifically I wanted to accomplish, it would have made me cut out like 6 to 7 months of like endlessly trying to figure out what exactly I was trying to do. So I just wanted to comment on that. I think Logo, have you joined us again? Are you there? Logo?
He said he can hear us.
Oh yeah, he can. Can you talk?
So you can talk, Logo.
Okay, as we're trying to figure out what Logo, if he can talk. Faith, are you with us again?
She needs to unmute herself.
Oh, Faith, can you unmute yourself?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Sorry, what was the question?
Oh yeah, so basically, just as Dina said, that entrepreneurship is a big word. We're also saying that mentorship is a big word, and in like 2 of the conversations that we've had about small black-owned businesses, people have said that there's a lack of mentorship. So my question is basically, like, what is the number one thing that you think that either people that are just now starting off with their business journey, or like entrepreneurs in general, young entrepreneurs, what do you think the number one thing that they need is? Like, what is missing for them?
I mean, I definitely agree the clarity piece. I know this is not really entrepreneurship, but just with like my thesis, like I know I went through a period where I was like, should I really do this? Like, is this too big of a project for me? Like, what do I really want to find? You know, and that was super hard for me. So I can't even imagine like trying to open a business and trying to put yourself out there. I think that entrepreneurs need like confidence, and that their stuff will sell, because it is taking a big risk, and kind of putting yourself out there. So I don't know if that would come in the form of like mentors, kind of guiding them and reassuring them that this is going to work. um, Giving them kind of the backing, or the encouragement that they need. I think yeah, just building confidence, and knowing what whatever the person wants to do, like knowing that if they have enough drive, if they have enough motivation, that it will come to pass.
Thank you. Marilyn, do you have anything to add?
I think that when you need a mentor, when you're starting a company and you need a mentor, the first thing I want is somebody who will be available for me. Because I don't want him to come to me. I want to do some research and find, okay, this man, he has some experience, or that woman, she has some experience, she knows what the topic is and everything. And if I want to talk to her and my project is serious, first of all, I want her to listen to me, to listen to my project. If she has availability, she can mentor me. And the business world is so huge that, to me, the most important thing is the financial. Because if I know how to invest my money, the rest is, it's not easier, but it's easier to manage. Prospecting, networking, and all the stuff. Your mentor should tell you where to go, where not to go, and also somebody who has experienced a lot of failures. Because in entrepreneurship, people fail a lot. Some get discouraged and they change the field. Some other say, oh, okay, this business was not good. I learn from my mistakes and I go ahead. Some other don't. Sometimes it can be psychologically bad. So I need somebody who will mentor me psychologically with the failures, and not to take the success as granted, and somebody who will show me how to invest, where not to invest, and what kind of networking I need. Because if I know how to invest my money and I have a good network, that will show me like the rest, the marketing stuff. I can have like partnership with them who will make my investment. How do you say that?
Profitable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I think.
I agree about having a mentor who's failed a lot, because that's all entrepreneurship is failing and learning how to fail over and over again. I just want to bring in Alpha, who's watching us. He has a follow-up question to, I think, what Marilyn said earlier. So he said, Africans preferring to partner up with Westerners, as one lady mentioned. Do you guys think it's because of the reputation most of Africa has of corruption and unreliability?
Wait, Dina, who is that question from?
Alpha. Alpha K.
Okay, and then he said, do you think the lack of support is because the reputation of corruption?
No, do you think the lack of partnering with other people from other African countries is because of corruption and unreliability? I mean, the 419, what was that Nigerian scam? That didn't help.
419, yeah. I think it's just like, I think it's seeing like, okay, who are the most successful people in America? Most of them are white, and so like, I think if that and then in the media, like, it's just all we see is like white successful people. You know, you don't really see, they don't really showcase a lot of, you know, black successful people. So like, you know, unconsciously you're gonna say, okay, who are the people that are already there? If they're mostly white, that's who I'm gonna go to. You know, unfortunately, like, you know, a lot of the black people that are successful aren't really showcased. It's all about visibility, you know, and so, you know, you just kind of go to who is successful, and they happen to be white. It may have to do with 419, but I don't think so. Maybe not so much.
So, can you repeat the question? Because I heard an echo. I don't know if it comes from me or I don't know.
Oh,
I have headphones.
Yeah, could you? I don't hear it anymore, but I did. But can you repeat it one more time, Dina?
Yeah, I'm just going to read it as he said. Hey, good chat. In terms of Africans preferring to partner up with Westerners, as one lady mentioned, do you guys think it's because of the reputation most of Africa has of corruption and unreliability?
Oh, actually, I did. But no, I think it's not because I think if it's the cause, it's very little compared to the historical cause. Where we are here, we are in America. We are Africans, and it's sad to say, but I'm black. When it comes to black community in America, we all Africans and black Americans. But when it comes to work, there's a differentiation. We have like with the time we have like two different histories. And when us Africans from Africa we come here to study, to work and everything, we like I want to go there, but for me, the media has stereotyped me about a black African American mindset that if I go with them, I don't know them and I don't see myself in them. This is all brainwashing. And what we do is that I come here, there's a lack of data because African entrepreneurs who succeed, it's difficult to see them, it's difficult to approach them. So what happens is that all African students we gather together and then we find something to do. Like we are all Ezibota community, we are trying to do something out of it. But most of the time, people who are, let's say, the most easy to approach are people who are not doing anything very good. So when you will go and you will just find a guy who comes from Africa, he's doing some random job and I don't know, you cannot really trust him. You will say, okay, look at his life, this is not the life I want. And then you will see that guy who is Western or who has been westernized a lot, and he has like all his friends are Western because he's integrated in the system, or he like white people music, he do everything that they do because he's just used to that. It's not like he doesn't like African, but he's used to that. So, but there is a thing that because of our mindset, we are not encouraging each other. So people are more tempted to go there and find new partnerships with people who can, even if they are not your real friends, when it comes to business, they can help you. They can do something good, you know. And we also have that historical complexion, like white people are kind of better than black. And this is all the fault of media and all the brainwashing you're doing because it's absolutely not true. And us, our responsibility now is like, if I succeed tomorrow, I want to be available. Actually, we are all on Twitter. I can follow you. People follow me. I'm no one, you know, but if anybody approach me and have a question, maybe for scholarship here or everything, I will be available because I know I can help you. And this is our responsibility to go and to be available to others who wants to come, who wants to follow us in a certain way.
Okay. Just really quickly, my response to Alpha. I think a lot of times we allow for stereotypes to introduce us to other people before we actually meet the person. Like, I know a lot of shiesty white people. A lot. I know a lot of white people I would never enter business with. I know a lot of white people I have absolutely no respect for in regards to their entrepreneurial abilities and skills. So if I'm meeting someone, it doesn't matter if they just came from Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon yesterday. If I'm meeting them and I've done my research and I've seen what they've done and I've seen their efforts and their results and I respect it and I can see us entering a business and having success, I'm going to partner with them despite what everybody thinks about people from Nigeria, Ghana, or Cameroon. So I think that's the luxury that a lot of white people have. There are not these really restrictive stereotypes that are floating around on a universal scale about them. But there are these stereotypes that really restrict us that are floating around about us. Before Olu even gets to say, hi, my name is Olu, I'm thinking, oh my God, look at this black man. He probably has 7 children. He doesn't pay any child support. Look at him. He thinks he can shake my hand. His hands are probably dirty. That's what we think. So we don't give each other the benefit of the doubt. Like, we don't get to know the person, their work oftentimes. That's just how I feel in response to that. Are there situations of corruption? Yes. Is there 419? Yes. But why not look at the people that are doing well and saying, well, this person is also Nigerian, this person is also African, this person is also black. Look at that. We never attribute people's success to their minority status. We always attribute people's failures and their shortcomings to their minority status. And I think that's a mindset that we really have to change if we expect to see the success that we're talking about can potentially happen. So I really hope that makes sense. But, I mean, we've all alluded to like a mind shift, and I think it has to be a collaborative, genuine effort in order for us to stop thinking stuff like, oh, 419 defines all Nigerian business owners, because it's just simply not the case. But because our time is kind of wrapping up, I did want to wrap it up and just ask the concluding thought. We talked a lot about supporting Black-owned businesses. So how do you, in your everyday life, support Black-owned businesses? And if you don't, you know, kind of like what is either stopping you or what do you wish was different in your efforts to support more of small businesses or Black-owned businesses in general? We can go ahead and start with Faith. Are you still with us?
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So actually, I used to intern at the Office on African Affairs. It's the only one in the country, in DC, and we made an African business directory, and that was really cool. And that whole process kind of taught me the importance of buying African, buying Black. And so I think that if we had more, initiatives like that, to kind of put it in people's face to make it kind of visible, then maybe we would start buying Black. In my own experience, I probably don't buy Black as intentionally as I should. I think if I know the person, if I'm, or if the person, makes an effort to kind of grab my attention, then I'm more likely to buy, Black-owned. But yeah, I think if there was more directories and more just visibility, that would help.
Thank you. That's what we're trying to do with Ezi Exchange, so I appreciate that. Okay. Thank you very much. Marilyn?
Yeah. Do you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the question?
Sorry. How do you support Black businesses in your everyday life? And like, what do you wish there was the existence of so that you would be better able to support Black-owned businesses?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
Actually, what I just started, I opened a website for me. Actually, I wanted to start to do a portfolio, but I thought it was too basic. So I opened the website, and I have a part that is called exploration part. And actually, I'm kind of seeking for all the African things I can find around internet, art, fashion, food, everything that I can find, and I publish it. Like I was talking about Sarah Golish, I found her today. She is painting. She's painting things like that, and it's amazing what she's doing. I found her on Instagram, and actually, what's amazing is that it's not a Black girl. It's a Caucasian girl who lives in Canada, and her paintings are. I was just amazed. I was just amazed. She's painting mostly African people, and I thought she was black, but no. And I'm about to publish her on my website, so that's at my level. Anything I can do for now. I wish one day I would be rich and I would have like a lot of things, meetings and conferences and scholarships for African students.
Yes, one day, one day. Amen.
Yeah.
Olu. Olu, you with us?
Yeah, so I do try to support black businesses, um, I guess through buying clothing, because that's the easiest way. I mean, there are a lot, there's I guess the I guess most prominent things are like clothing, hair care products. But I do want to get to a point where it's like I'm supporting a business going in and buying, from a physical brick and mortar. There's an app that helps you find black businesses in your area. I think it's called Black Trade Lines,
Wow.
or no, Black Trade Circles. So I know it's on the iPhone app. There's like one or two directories. I forget the name, but I mean, it's more so you have to do your research. And I mean, through social media, we're able to see things a little bit easier. So whenever you can make the effort, I mean, people sell stuff in all price ranges. So it's one of those things. I know a few black artists who do paintings. So I've supported a few of my friends that I know in the area. So wherever I can, I try. I do want to get to a point where we have small communities where I can just everything that I purchase can be from blacks and Africans. I mean, if you can have a Chinatown, there's no reason where we can't have like little Africas in all major cities, just because we're everywhere. I think it's just a point where you have to. I think our generation has to have that mindset that we can live and coexist together and build these type of things. Just because the resources are there, and there's no reason for us not to have like a huge sign in every city that's a huge tourist attraction where our money just stays with us.
Thank you, Olu. I'm gonna definitely check out that app. Dina?
I was jotting things down because I honestly do believe that if I'm seeking support, I first have to support people. Like, it's one thing that I've been putting into my own head, that if I think there's no mentors, then I need to be mentoring or looking for those things. So honestly, when I got the funds, I do buy from black businesses, especially here where I live in Des Moines. So there's like the Oriental that also sells like gari and fufu and those things, but I'll go to the African one as long as they're of quality, because there's places that I'm just not going to go because if the service sucks, I'm not going to deal with that service, period. And that's with anybody and everybody. But I do it with food. Even to me, like Faith mentions, Wava, Aiba. If I can't buy it, there's things that I do through reblogging, retweeting, telling other people about it. Just because I can't get it doesn't mean someone else can't get it. I think also supporting through things like comedians, like black comedians, because there's a couple that have come to my city and I go and support them. So that's money in their pockets in terms of going to their shows. There's a What's Up African clothing that I just found through Tumblr that I'm probably going to, when I have a chance, buy something from them. Olu mentioned that he's coming out with something soon, so that's something that I want to support through with my money. Also, whenever I travel, if I can find an African-owned restaurant, then I'm definitely checking it out and wanting to go to it. So there's so many ways we can support in terms of where we put our money. It's not just clothing. There's food. There's artists. There's people who do your hair. There's people who do your nails. I mean, I think it's really about making sure we look for other ways to do it, because you have to kind of search out for it. So whenever I can, I do it. And if I can't do it, then I tell someone else about it who maybe has more buying power than I do to support.
Thank you, Dina. And then, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I think kind of like being someone who started a business from the ground up, I just really appreciate the process. So anytime that I think someone's product is of good quality, I definitely do try to support, and I try to like sometimes I do buy items that I guess are more expensive. I limit the kind of like unnecessary purchases that I make. And then what I think am gonna challenge myself to start doing, I like to challenge everybody here and everyone that's watching live and will watch in the future, is just to kind of like shift your mindset, shift our mindsets, because a lot of times we think that we do not have power, or we think that like our ideas are very isolated, like they're good ideas, but nothing's really going to come of it because it's just the five of us, or it's just the 20 of us, or 100 of us, or whatever. But if we can kind of start lending our voices to more positivity in regards to like African businesses or Black businesses, and not only focus on like the negativity that's often spoon fed to us every single day, any chance that they get, I think it would be really constructive. And it's going to be really hard for us to have like a unified force or unified conversation in which everyone is on the same page. But that's not what we need. We need truth as well. We need people to come and be like, well, if you can improve X, Y, Z, I would support. But I do think if we can kind of like shift the conversation, that's support in and of itself. It doesn't have to be concrete. It doesn't have to be money. It doesn't have to be advertising. If we can just kind of like change our tone, we talk about our brothers and sisters that are doing these, these great things, because it's not easy. It takes a lot to either invest your time, energy, effort, money, whatever. So yeah, just kind of shifting the conversation there. But yes, thanks to everyone who watched us live. Thanks for our video participants, Faith, Dina, Marilyn, and Olu, and myself for joining us. And as always, you can become a member and continue the conversation at ezibota.com. That's ezibota.com. And feel free to check out our recently launched marketplace, ezexchange.com. And that concludes our chat. Thank you.